Hello, everyone. It's Whitney Wiley, and thank you for joining me for 30 Days of Habit. And we are on Chapter 11. I'm talking with Shelly Buettner today. Hi, Shelly. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. And we're going to talk about your habit of a daily practice of empathy and a unhabit of saying no, right?
Yeah, saying no
It
to
putting your
myself.
and not putting yourself last, and just learning to say no sometimes so that you can put yourself first.
First. That's right.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what this habit of practicing daily empathy is about.
Well, I don't know. I just started at a young age. I had a lot of bad, what do you want to say, examples of people not being nice to each other and not really understanding each other or listening to each other. And so at a young age, I really just just naturally developed this habit of feeling what other people are feeling when I listen to them. And so what happened was it made me become a kinder person and very sweet. And like I say in the book, everybody's like, oh gosh, you're always so sweet, you're so nice. And I enjoy being nice and I enjoy being kind. And the thing is that when you sit down to listen to other people and you make that a habit of, and I'm a jabberjaws. I mean, I will talk your ear off, but when you sit down and listen to other people and
Right.
listen to what's actually coming through and how they feel when they're talking and what they're going through, and you can feel that, you're in a much better position to, number one, be kind to them and
Right.
realize what they're going through. And number two, also you are in a position to not add to their big pile of whatever.
Right.
And if you're conscious of that, because I think a lot of times we're not conscious of what other people are going through and we act before we think. And so I just started to try to think, how would I want to be treated if I felt the way this person is feeling?
Right.
How is
And
this
couldn't we
person
use a
feeling?
little bit more of that right now, being nicer to each other, just
Yeah,
listening to what people are saying and feeling a little bit of what they're feeling.
that's so true, because we don't know what, we see on the outside what everybody's going through or what we think they're going through,
Exactly.
but we don't know. We have no idea. And sometimes you got to put that smile on your face when you don't want to. And sometimes you're walking around with a frown on your face when you don't really feel like a frown, but you can't help it. So you just don't never know what people are going through. So,
And so you say that that is sort of the opposite side of the coin of what your unhabit is, which is to not, that unhabit is actually to not put yourself last, which flipped around is to put yourself first. So
right. So
how does one do that? And particularly as women, we are so prone to taking care of everyone else first. How does one go about doing that?
so my habit, or the habit I'm trying to break, is I do put myself last and I don't say no. So now my unhabit, trying to break that, is to say no and learn when to say no to people, as far as, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? No, I don't have time. No, I need to do this instead, but maybe we can do this later. And Leah, Smart Femme Leah Woodford, good friend of mine, and she says, Shell, you have to put your oxygen mask on first.
Yes.
Otherwise, you're going to be laying in the aisle and they're all going to be getting off the plane, and then what good are you going to do? And it's so true. And we've had this conversation, right? And we've had this conversation for like 30 years. So you think I'd get it by now, but I do. We have so many demands on us, and like you said, a lot of times it's women, but I mean, people, all of us in general, we have so many demands. My honey needs this, my kids need that, my boss needs this, my mom and my, dad or whoever, all of our family members need something and they need it now. And you just say, okay, I can do that. Okay, I can do that. Because from my habit of empathy, I understand how they feel and they need that help and they want to get this done. And so I'm like, okay, I can do it. Let me help you. Let me, and I try to jump in there and say yes. And then I sit there and I'm a hair twirler and going, twirling with both hands going, shoot, I can't do all this. And so I have to, the habit that I'm trying to form is time blocking, what Jen DeBoer Richter says, number one, and try to block out all your time. Because if you do that and you do put that system in place, then for me, I believe that I can be there when people need me to be there.
Right.
And I can say yes more often.
Right.
So that I'm not putting myself last, I'm putting myself first so that I can be there in a better capacity when I need to be there for everybody else.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And I was just talking with Deborah, not Deborah, Dolores, and we were talking about this concept of saying yes and no, and boundaries, and understanding your values that allow you to figure out what you should be saying yes and no to. Exactly. And so how do you make those decisions about what you should be saying no to in order to take care of yourself first?
I start making a list, believe it or not. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you just know because you've got your priorities. So I make a list of what's important to me at this particular time, and I try to list it in order, or I'll make my whole list and then I'll go through and number it. Okay. And then I also, what's most urgent, what needs to get done now, like what can't wait, what has a deadline that I have no control over. And so I try to do things in that, and not just in business, but in, my personal life too, because sometimes there's things that your personal life, it can't, I'll do that tomorrow. Right. No, sometimes you can't. Sometimes it has to be done today. And so I do it that way. And then I also try to look at myself and say, what do I need right now? And at what capacity am I going to come to the table at? If I'm not in a good mindset and I don't have the positivity or whatever that this other person needs, then I need to say no. Right. Because I need to be there in full capacity to be a good human for someone else. So
absolutely, that makes
how I prioritize it.
That makes a lot of sense. So do you have any parting words you'd like to share about either the daily practice of empathy or about saying no, or how they a little bit more about how they interrelate?
Well, I do think that we do need a little bit more empathy in the world. And I think right now, especially, it's with everything we're going through, everything that's on the news. I mean, right now, a lot of it's COVID. And I think a lot of people are untrusting of each other.
Yeah.
They don't know who to trust when they turn on the news. They don't know who to trust now that we can almost get back together. Like, is everybody safe? Are they not safe? Strange things like this are happening in our world right now. And I think if we take a step back and we actually listen intently to each other of what each other's needs are, we might realize that we're a little closer on the scale than we all think. And right. That, some people are affected, so much more heavily than others. The people on the forefront, people that are losing people because of this, as opposed to someone like myself who, I don't know anybody that's sick with it. I'm still working. I can see where people, as I would say in my place, would say, oh, we need to get back to work. We need to do this. We need to do that. And forget all these other things and forget about people's feelings or safety or whatever. And I think that if we start to practice empathy and really listen to each other, yeah, and see how we can add to a good part to somebody's life that's around us, instead of doing something and then thinking about it later. I believe that if we start by being kind and generous and helpful and sweet, everybody's, oh, you're so sweet. Well, I like being sweet because it really does help. And I think if we start doing that to each other a little bit more, that pretty soon it's that thing that is going to become a habit, and we're going to start thinking about how we want to treat other people because of what each other is going through. And it's just going to make us all better humans because we're going to be able to have that perspective.
So you gave me thought for two things. One is that we need to do a better job of putting ourselves in someone else's shoes, right? And ultimately, kind of the empathy is about understanding things from someone else's perspective. So what is it like to walk in someone else's shoes? And then
that, yes.
the last thing you said about being sweet, and the old adage, you catch more flies with honey. Why would anyone than vinegar, but why anyone would want flies, I don't know, but it
right.
But it's easier to catch them
That's
that way.
kind of an odd saying there, but you didn't think about that.
But it is easier to catch them that way, even though maybe we don't really want flies.
Want all of them, but we could change flies to good humans.
There you go.
Yeah, we could insert that word there. I like that.
So cool. So thank you, Shelly, for joining me and sharing about your habits. And if you haven't gotten your copy of the One Habit for Success, the Smart Femmes Summit Special Edition, you can get it by clicking on the link in the post. And we look forward to hearing from you. Maybe you can stop back by and drop off a comment about how one of the habits that you've read about has helped change your life. So everyone, have a great rest of your day. Shelly, thanks again.
Take
care.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.